We've had Minister Debolo, who had to leave, representing Premier Ford out here, who spoke earlier. We were very grateful for his remarks. We are also very fortunate to have with us all three levels of government present here today. But with your indulgence, I will request His Worship Mayor Patrick Brown, who has to leave for another event, to please come to the podium. And as he makes his way to the podium, we want to recognize Mayor Patrick Brown, who's been one of the ardent supporters of the International Christian Voice. He has supported this organization, perhaps more importantly and recently, by naming a public park in the city of Brampton after Martyr Shahbaz, and has also declared March 2nd, 2020 as a day of remembrance and action on religious freedom. That's bold, Mayor Brown, that's bold. Invite you to the podium. I understand you've got to go.
Dr. Collin, thank you for the kind introduction, and on behalf of the City of Brampton, I wanted to come here today to congratulate the International Christian Voice on what is obviously a marvelous success tonight. 300 plus people who believe in this cause of religious freedom and protecting persecuted minorities. And who would have thought that in the face of incredible pain and a tragedy, to lose your brother, Peter, to lose a legend in Shahbaz body, that it would grow into helping so many others. And I imagine, if anything, that's what he would have dreamed of. That's what he would have hoped for. Brampton is probably the most diverse city in Canada. It's a mosaic of faiths. And for us in Brampton, and our local MP, Ruby Sahota, can attest, religious freedom is something we passionately believe in. And when we heard about the connection with the Body family to Brampton, how Shahbaz had visited Peter, how he had these links to our city, we wanted to celebrate that. And that's why we declared March 2nd as a day in the city to celebrate religious freedom. It's why we declared the park in the name of Shahbaz body, so that future generations can look to Shahbaz body as a symbol of religious freedom, and one that's got a direct Canadian connection. And I just wanted to thank Peter for your unwavering work and to continue to carry on the legacy of your brother. It really is phenomenal. I think the reason we're all here today is his passion is contagious. It really is. When you hear Peter talk about his brother, you just want to help. So a big hand to Peter Body, my good friend. And there's no better example of standing up for what you believe in than Shahbaz body. So I'm here today to salute his message, to salute his legacy, and to thank my friend Peter for carrying it on. I hope everyone has a great dinner tonight.
I'm really honored to be here this evening because, to me, gatherings like this are what Canada is all about. When we come together and we celebrate who we are and share time with each other, we learn more about each other, and it makes it much, much more difficult for people to be prejudiced towards each other. And when I think about the languages that we speak in this country, the fact that we can pray to God and we can keep our value systems alive, no matter where we come from in the world, to me, that's what makes us unique. And I've said it a few times in speeches that I've given, that when someone says to me what a Canadian is, it's not hamburgers and French fries, it's multiculturalism. The fact that we have respect for each other and we have the opportunities to do the things like what we're doing tonight. And I commend the organizers for doing this and the work that's being done to bring more people to this country, to give them the opportunity to continue to share their culture, their heritage with all other Canadians. So with that, I'd like to thank you again for allowing me to share a few minutes with you. God bless you all for what you're doing. And Peter Batty, if you're around close by, I have a presentation from the government for you, just to say thank you for your continued work and your continued aspirations and wanting to build a better Canada for all of us. Thank you.
promised you it'll be a great evening. I think with remarks like that that set the tone for the rest of the evening. It's about courage, it's about determination, and it's about making sure you get the job done. Another very principled politician that we have with us and will bring greetings from Prime Minister Trudeau is the MP from Brampton North, Ms. Ruby Sahota. Ruby is very well known in our community and has been a great supporter of the International Christian Voice. It's my pleasure to invite to the podium, representing Prime Minister Trudeau, Ruby Sahota.
Good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here once again. I've attended many annual Shahbaz Gala dinners, fundraisers, and it's always a pleasure to be here to support this cause. This cause has become very near and dear to my heart because our good friend, Peter Bundy, has made it so. He's worked tirelessly. And the first thing I do want to say, and some of what our mayor has stated, is that Peter really has a lot of passion. And I know he's got a big team working behind him, but it takes a lot of effort. And I want everyone to recognize this, that this doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy to privately sponsor refugees. It really isn't. It's a big process. And you need a lot of host families to help you. And the work doesn't end just when they get here. You have to support them day in and day out, help make sure the family has the needs, their needs provided for, services, education, making sure they assimilate into society, making sure they attain good jobs, and get everything that our country provides for everyone here. But that's not easy, and that takes a lot of work, and so I really want everyone to think really hard, and I want to thank everyone here because you're making it possible. I know that tonight's dinner is going to help 2 more families be able to call Canada their home, and we're so fortunate. All of us are extremely fortunate, and I thank God every day that I am Canadian and I get to live in this wonderful country. So I really want to just like all of you, just pay my respects and honor the legacy of Shahbaz Bhatti. It's been over 9 years, and I know that he's probably looking down at us and really amazed at the work that everyone has done to make sure that we don't forget and we continue to carry on the fight and the torch that he had. I'll read the greeting from the Prime Minister. It says, "Dear friends, I'm pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone attending the International Christian Voices 2020 Shahbaz Bhatti Memorial Gala. This annual fundraising event honors the legacy of Shahbaz Bhatti. Proceeds raised in this evening will support the sponsorship and resettlement in Canada of 2 families. I would like to commend International Christian Voice for hosting this event. I would also like to thank everyone in attendance for supporting this worthy cause. Please accept my best wishes for an enjoyable evening and for every success in meeting your fundraising goals. Sincerely, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau." In closing, I'd just like to say, as the Member of Parliament for Brampton North, I have had the pleasure and privilege to serve many constituents, many that have been fleeing persecution from other countries, and many that have challenges that they're facing here in Canada as well. And it's been an honor to serve many from the Christian community, and I just want to say that if anyone in this room does know anyone that is in need of support or services that I or the Government of Canada can help provide, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and my office. We're here to serve. You can also reach out to my good friend Peter Bundy, and we will do everything we can to make sure that we can resolve the issues that are happening. Thank you.
I'm going to have to call upon a very dear friend of Peter Bhatti and the Bhatti family. But before I do that, I want to tell you something perhaps some of you may not know. And I'm referring to an event that took place about a year before Shahbaz passed away. And I was reminded about this by MP Garnet Jenis, who just mentioned to me about how about a year before Shahbaz passed away, when he was visiting Canada, and they were talking about the whole concept of religious freedom. And at that point, Garnet reminds me that now Premier Jason Kenney and Prime Minister Harper put their arms around Shahbaz and said, why don't you stay here in Canada? We know you're having a tough time in Pakistan. Why don't you stay here, be with your family? And it was remarkable the response that came back from this man who's now the martyr, whose memory we recognize and applaud. He said, I've got to go back to my people. Such a profound statement. And they said, we'll do whatever you want. We'll give you any status that you want out here. We'll do it for you. And he said, no, I've got to go back to my people. To pursue a little further, I am now going to invite MP Garnet Jenis, who is going to represent the official opposition in Ottawa. As I mentioned, he has been an ardent supporter of religious freedom and continues to serve on the Human Rights Committee on Parliament Hill. And he's a popular figure on Question Period at 11 o'clock on CTV. So, Garnet, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Saldana. It is such an honor to be here with you today with friends and colleagues from all levels of government. I had thought maybe Mayor Brown would be slowing down his schedule after becoming a father, but no, he's still just as active as before, even though maybe not getting any sleep at night up with the baby. So great to see his and the work ethic of all these rampant politicians. Friends, the story of Shahbaz Bhatti has been such an inspiration to all of the people in this room, and in particular to my colleagues on Parliament Hill. Whenever these issues of religious freedom come up, I want you to know, especially for the MPs that were elected prior to 2015, many of them remember meeting Shahbaz Bhatti when they were on Parliament Hill, and indeed, as Colin mentioned, being inspired by his story. In fact, he was a big part of the inspiration for the creation of the Canadian Office of Religious Freedom, led by Father Deacon Andrew Bennett, that really built on his vision of pluralism and religious freedom to run programs supported by Canada around the world, making a real difference, including, for example, developing pro-pluralism education materials that were used in schools in Pakistan. So, since I've been elected, I've been working on these issues of human rights and religious freedom. And sometimes, to be honest, I struggle with discouragement, because it feels like, if you look at the world, if you look at the situation, the persecution of Christians, if you look at human rights in general, that if anything, we're on a negative trajectory, that despite the work being done to raise these issues and highlight them, things seem to keep getting worse. There are more and more stories in the news about just horrific things happening to minority communities, religious and ethnic minorities in different countries around the world. And yet, I also reflect on that saying from Tertullian and from the early church, that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And we see that tonight. How in the case of the courage and sacrifice of Shahbaz Bhatti, his witness, his example, has catalyzed so much good work, as others have been inspired by him to try and fight for the things that he fought for. And I was thinking, why is it that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church? And I think it's because, as Christ says, people expect that when someone does good to you, you do good back. But when evil is done to you and you respond in love, that is what really makes people stand up and take notice. As the song we sang says, they will know you are Christians by your love. And it was the fact that Shahbaz Bhatti and other martyrs, other people who face persecution and respond with courage, with love, with a commitment to universal human dignity and solidarity, they are a shocking example to those around them, and they catalyze such a response, such a growth of the church, such a growth in commitment to those values. So while we should fight for the rights of those who face persecution, we should remember that they are not just victims. They are heroes. They are models for us. They're models for all of us and all of the things we do, but especially for us as politicians. They're models to us of the kind of courage that we need to show when faced with adversity, when faced with situations that threaten human dignity. So we should respond. We should be inspired by that love to be voices for human rights, for justice, for religious freedom, to be voices for the voiceless, no matter what it costs us, no matter what the consequences. And I want to encourage all of us as parliamentarians to work together to stand up for human rights and religious freedom, and in particular to do more to support private refugee sponsorship. In the last election, all of the political parties were talking about increasing quotas for refugee sponsorship. We're talking about trying to make it easier for private sponsoring organizations to do the good work they do. We need to remove red tape, we need to increase quotas, and I want to work together with all parliamentarians to make this happen, to support the vital work being done by International Christian Voice. We have a blessing in this country that there are groups like International Christian Voice, like the Archdiocese of Toronto, represented by Deacon Rudy, so many different organizations that want to do more. And the government can support that by lifting quotas, by creating mechanisms to facilitate the work they're doing. So I commit to you that I will seek to do all we can in this Parliament, to work with colleagues in other parties, to support that vital work of speaking out on human rights and being a voice in the world, and of strengthening private refugee sponsorship so that more of the world's most vulnerable can receive that support and sponsorship to come to Canada. Thank you again to International Christian Voice and the Bhatti family for the excellent work you are continuing to do, building on Shahbaz's legacy. God bless you all.
We're very fortunate to have a real stalwart of the international community to be our keynote speaker. Someone who has represented Canada on a number of fronts and who has achieved international distinction. I'm referring to the Honorable Irwin Cotler, who's our keynote speaker. Mr. Cotler is the chair of the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights, an emeritus professor of law at McGill University, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, and a longtime Member of Parliament. As an international human rights lawyer, Professor Cotler has served as counsel to many well-known prisoners of conscience, including Nelson Mandela, and as a peace activist has been a leader and role model in the international community. Through his advocacy work both in Canada and internationally, he has transformed the lives of many people. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we invite one of Canada's most distinguished jurists to the podium, the Honorable Irwin Cotler.
Thank you for those very kind and warm words of introduction. May I begin by commending Peter Bhatti and International Christian Voices for their continuing pursuit of justice and the implementation of the humanitarian legacy of Shahbaz Bhatti. And so I'm delighted to join Peter, to join you in the common cause which brings us together. The struggle for freedom of religion, conscience, and belief, the foundational centerpiece for all other rights, which former Chief Justice Dixon of the Supreme Court of Canada referred to as the firstness of all our freedoms. I have to tell you that Shahbaz Bhatti was a household word amongst the Pakistani Canadian community in my own riding. And those in my own riding who respected him and revered him were among those who recommended that he be invited to testify before our Foreign Affairs Committee. Indeed, when Shahbaz Bhatti appeared before our parliamentary committee, he told us, and his testimony was in camera at the time, and I do hope that it will someday be made public, because he spoke how compellingly minorities in Pakistan, and the Christian minority in particular, were under standing threats from extremists, and you saw that in Shahbaz Bhatti's own words in his video. Especially, therefore, his advocacy for the repeal of the blasphemy laws that have been used to suppress the Christian minority in Pakistan, and where, as we saw again in the video, the mere accusation of such conduct can incite hatred and even death. Indeed, Minister Bhatti, after he testified, came up to speak to me and told me that he was under a fatwa death threat. And he said to me, and I won't forget those words, and I hear them now, as if they were being told to me as we meet. When he said to me, Professor Kotler, when I return to Pakistan, I will be assassinated. And I said, Shahbaz, no, don't even think, let alone speak in those terms. He says, no, when I return to Pakistan, I will be assassinated. And 3 weeks after that testimony, tragically, he was brutally assassinated for doing nothing other than speaking the truth. Pakistan has lost a great and courageous son of its people, and we have lost a great hero in the struggle for human rights. We honor his memory best by standing steadfast against hatred and extremism as he inspired us to do. Let us commit ourselves that we will speak on behalf of those who cannot be heard. We will bear witness on behalf of those who cannot testify. We will continue to be the voice of the voiceless. We will pursue justice as we combat injustice. And may the memory of Shahbaz Bhatti continue to inspire us all, and may that memory always serve as a blessing for us all. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This evening, of course, is to honor the legacy of Martyr Shahbaz Bhatti, his life, his sacrifice, and his continued legacy as championed by the International Christian Voice. I will keep the update brief, so immediately following we can watch a video on Peter Bhatti's speech a few weeks ago in Geneva at the 12th Annual Summit of Human Rights and Democracy on the eve of the UNHCR's 43rd Annual Session 2020. This video will reaffirm that the blood of Martyr Shahbaz Bhatti still cries out for his people, and his voice still rings loud to the world, and his mission continues to forge forward through International Christian Voice, led by his brother Peter Bhatti, along with hundreds of courageous organizations, activists, and leaders the world over to end religious persecution. Like Dr. Colin Saldana said, we all have to play a role. A lot goes on behind. Having worked closely with Peter, I see the effort and the relentless effort that he puts in all year round. And some of the highlights I'll bring forward to you tonight. In March 2019, Peter accompanied a leading journalist and Ottawa bureau chief of a large media house, visited Thailand. Together they met with refugees and interviewed them at length at the places of refuge and the immigration detention center in Bangkok. We are eagerly awaiting the release of that report. Status of Saira Forum, the widowed mother of 2 children sponsored at the 2018 fundraiser, had her final interview 3 weeks ago and approved for immigration to Canada. She and the children, after their medical, will be issued visas for Canada We expect them to join us all by Easter. Status of Sarah Sumbul and her family, parents, and 2 brothers, sponsored at the 2019 fundraiser, have also had their final interviews but are still awaiting the decision. Hopefully they will also be approved and granted visas to Canada by summer. Status of Huma, Pakistan, and Sunanathan couple from Sri Lanka, for who we are here today to raise funds for their sponsorship. Their applications were also submitted and acknowledged by IRCC, and the file numbers have been received. They are now in queue for the investigation process and interviews, which sadly is a very unacceptable long period of time. Outreach and raising awareness and building relationships. During the past 12 months, ICV has reached out and addressed a number of church organized congregations to raise awareness on the continued persecution of Christians and other religious minorities in Pakistan. ICV made presentations to the churches in Brampton, Toronto, Midland, Angus, and Winnipeg to spread awareness on the harsh reality of religious persecution in Pakistan and in search of co-sponsors for asylum seekers. January 2020, ICV team was invited to meet the new Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Minister, Honorable Marco Mendocino, to attend a select meeting initiated and hosted by Brampton members of the Parliament, led by our MP Ruby Sahota. ICV raised the specific concerns on stranded refugees and submitted a comprehensive report to the Minister on the plight of asylum seekers and suggested solutions for the Minister's consideration. February 2020, Peter Bhatti was invited to the Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy to speak at the session to highlight the work and cause of International Christian Voice. He was also invited at a closed-door session with 12 country representatives, mainly Western countries, to express the concerns of International Christian Voice and its expectations from the representatives at the 43rd session of United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, which is underway as we speak. This week, honoring the legacy of Martyr Shahbaz Bhatti, the Maclean's magazine reached out and was interviewed Peter Bhatti for their March edition and published a report under the heading, "Religious Freedom is Under Assault, Will Canada Be Its Champion?" International Christian Voice, by this reach, has truly demonstrated it is the true voice of the voiceless.
I want to bring the man, the driving force behind this initiative. It is often said that you cannot do this alone, you do need a team, but leadership makes all the difference. I'm referring to none other than my good friend Mr. Peter Bhatti. He has toiled day and night to make sure that the agenda of persecuted Christians is not only on our national agenda, but on the international agenda. By moving forward the issue and the plight of our Christians, he has truly won a well-deserved recognition by being invited and by presenting the various facts. But he cannot do this alone. He needs you and me to help him. So I guess and I sense your presence here is a commitment that to live our faith freely, openly, we need a lot of work to be done. Help me welcome to the podium Mr. Peter Bhatti.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. On behalf of International Christian Voice, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to spare your valuable time and being present yourself tonight. Your presence shows your respect and love to our great hero, Martyr Shahbaz Bhatti, who gave his life for the oppressed and marginalized Christian and other religious minorities of Pakistan. I am sure that he is watching us from heaven and is definitely happy to see that we are continuing his legacy, and he did not sacrifice, his sacrifice did not go anywhere. In 2015, when we came to know that thousands of Pakistani Christians fled from Pakistan due to severe persecution and were stuck in Thailand, we decided to go to the Thailand and to find out first-hand information. Upon arrival, we found that our people were suffering more than we had expected. ICV decided that we must do something to help sponsor the most vulnerable refugees under Canada Private Sponsorship Program. By grace of God, in 2016, by encouragement of all your support, community organizations, churches, businessmen, individuals, we organized first fundraiser for widow and for 3 children, those who are stuck in Thailand. And with your support, we are able to raise enough funds for those families and able to sponsor them. And by grace of God, that family is here 2017. We then decided that sponsor at least one family every year by raising the funds on the day of celebration of martyrdom of Martyr Shahbaz. However, sponsoring the refugee is not the ultimate goal of ICV. Our goal is to see Pakistan as a progressive and democratic state where every citizen of Pakistan can live in peace, harmony, dignity and honor and equality. This is what was promised by and expressed by our founding father, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and that was the Martyr Shahbaz gave his life.
And then we are Christians by